Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the Arizona Farm Bureau's Ag in the Classroom virtual tour series. Looks like we still have a few people coming in, so I'm letting them in right now. But my name is Tori Summy, and I'm filling in for Katie Akins today. She's actually on site with our Arizona Queen Bee today. We'll get to hear from both of them. But just a few housekeeping tools before we get started. I want you guys to make sure you keep yourself on mute, okay? So when you entered, you were already on mute, but make sure you're not pressing any buttons to keep yourself on mute, okay? And then if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into our chat box at any time during the presentation. We love questions, so don't be shy. And we'll finish up today around 9:45 a.m. But if you guys can't remain on the line for the whole presentation, or if you want to go back and view it, we'll actually have the recording available following our presentation. It'll be on our website at www.azfb.org, and we'll also share it out on our social media pages for AZFB, AITC, and we'll email those out. If you need that information, I actually put it in the chat. So if you want to get that website, it's right in there. And then without further ado, I'll go ahead and get started. We'll be hearing from Audra Waddle today. She's the Arizona Queen Bee. And for you guys to learn a little bit more about her, you can see the picture there on the screen. But I'm going to go ahead and play a video so you can learn a little bit more. Let me just admit a few more people in. Okay. Into the walls of an Awatuki home.
You can't hear anything.
I can't hear anything. Neither. We can't hear anything.
Okay, sounds like you guys are having trouble hearing. So let me see if I can do it. It's showing that it should be working. I'm not sure why that video isn't playing the sound.
It sounded like it was playing it, but just really low.
Just really soft? Okay, then I'll turn up my volume. We'll see if that makes a difference.
If you are sharing a video in the Zoom, you have to open down at the bottom. It'll say share audio of the video that you're opening. So it's like, it's down in those three dots on the side while you're sharing the screen.
Yep.
And it should say something like share video audio or something like that. Not in the video itself, but in the Zoom.
Oh, okay, okay. Let me try that.
I think it says share computer audio.
Yeah.
Okay, there. Thank you guys for that. That was really helpful. Okay, let's give it another try. I'm sorry about that.
She found herself sliced. You have to see to believe a massive beehive tucked into the walls of an Awatuki home. Fortunately, though, the homeowner was able to get them removed safely.
As Team 12's Erica Stapleton learned, a sticky situation like this might be more common than you think.
A day in the life for Audra Waddle. Many might consider a nightmare, spending her time up close and personal with thousands of bees.
I do think it's because I love them and they know it.
She's been rescuing bees from homes and buildings around the valley for more than 5 years through her business, AZ Queen Bee.
It's heavy, hard work.
Which is how she found herself slicing up Sharon Roche's garage in Awatuki last week. The homeowner thought she saw bees inside.
And I cut open the ceiling and I found a really big hive that was just a little bit sneaky. Probably had been there for a couple years.
And when she says really big hive,
a good sign. Well, at Hive, we'll have about 60,000.
60,000 bees, not necessarily the guests anyone wants, even if it is a version of Home Sweet Home.
And you really need to take care of it right away when you find out, because there's honey in your house now.
Audra uses a special vacuum to collect the hive and takes the bees to one of her many apiaries around the valley. And this happens more often than people think.
It looks like cake.
Buzzes at least a few times a week, with a surge in cases in the spring when bees are the busiest.
Beautiful.
She says they can typically hide their hives in attics or garages or in hollowed out tree trunks or valve boxes.
Oh, yes.
And notice when she handles a hive, she's decked out in her bee suit. If you see one at your house, she cautions to step back and call a beekeeper right away or risk getting stung.
Here we go. I found the queen.
In Phoenix, Erica Stapleton, 12 News.
Oh my goodness, Jamie. It is so good for our environment to save those bees, but
yeah.
60,000? Oh my goodness.
That's a lot of bees. That's a lot of honey, though.
It's a lot of honey, though.
Awesome. Well, now you guys know a little bit about Audra and what she does. I'm going to turn it over to Katie, who's in the field with her. You guys can get to see some of those bees today and learn from them. So just give me one moment. I'm going to put her on the screen, and then you'll get to talk and see Audra. Okay, before we go to Audra, I'm going to send this over to Katie. She's going to introduce her.
I was trying to keep those gloves on out here with all the bees, but my phone wants me to keep pushing buttons. So I'm taking one for the team, although I'm here with a whole bunch of nice bees. So I know I'm going to be safe here. But I am here at an apiary in Mesa, Arizona with Arizona queen bee Audra Waddle. And I'm super excited for our next 30 minutes or so that we're going to get to spend some time with her and learning a little bit more about bees in general and specifically what she does with the bees. So as Tori mentioned before, if you guys could do me a huge favor and please mute yourself. If you don't mute yourself, Tori will go in and mute you so that we can hear Audra. If you have a question, go ahead and just put that in the chat box, and that's how we will respond. All right, enjoy, guys.
Okay, I'm just trying to find Audra right now. We'll get her on here.
Hi, everybody. So glad you're here this morning. So I hope you enjoyed that little video. That is a lot of what I do every day. People call me and they explain to me that they've got bees at their house or they have bees at their business. And I'm always asking them, where are the bees at? Can I safely get to them? Can I collect them and rehome them? Because they're so important to our environment. Honeybees are the very best pollinators that we have. So I want to relocate them. I want to put them in one of these boxes and I want them to live with me instead of getting exterminated. So that video you saw with me and Awatuki, I was in a garage and the ceiling of the garage was drywall, and I took a Sawzall and I cut that drywall open and found that huge hive. I was really surprised when I found it because the homeowner told me that they had only been there for about 2 to 3 months, but they probably had been there for 2 to 3 years. It was huge. It probably took me about 3.5 hours to get that work done, and it was hot and sweaty, but it was good. I got those girls out of there. I got the honeycomb out of that house. It's always so important to get the honeycomb out of the house because when it gets to be really hot, it can just melt and you can have honey dripping down the walls of the house. So I use a gentle vacuum as the video said, and the vacuum on the bottom of it has a box that's the same exact size as the beehive, and I set that vacuum on top, and it has a bottom where I can pull it out like a drawer. It's kind of like a false bottom, and then I can let the bees go into their new home. And then they get to live with me. So all of the bees that you see here in this apiary, and I have 11 apiaries throughout the valley, but this apiary, all of the bees here have a genetic makeup of being Italian bees. Just like dogs have different varieties, well, bees have different varieties. And the European bees, or Italian bees, there's different names for them. They're all very docile, kind, and gentle. And if I work gentle with them, they'll be really sweet with me. So this apiary is very, very docile and kind. And why don't we take a step inside a hive and see what we see? I'm going to start out without my gloves because we'll probably be fine. But if you experience me getting stung, then I'm going to slip my gloves back on for you. So what we do is this is a hive tool. The bees like to seal everything up in the hive. So we always stick the tool in there, crack it open, and then we can take things apart. I've already cracked this one, so it's going to open easy for me. So this is our lid. And here they are. Look at these sweet little girls. I'm going to go down to the second box. This box I just put on, and they're just using it. It's kind of empty. It weighs maybe about 10-15 pounds. It's not too heavy. They've used it a little bit, but not too much. They still have space to grow in here. You always want your bees to have some space to grow. You don't want them busting at the seams. But down in here, we've got some beautiful stuff to show you guys. So Italian bees have a really beautiful color to them. They're very peach. And you see how everybody just stays on the frame? This thing I'm holding is called the frame, and they just walk around really peacefully and calm. That is the disposition that the Italian bees have. It's just calm, nice, gentle, and sweet. I could just put my finger up to them and they'll just kind of say hi to me. So in this frame, what we're looking at, if the camera can catch it, is in through here, we've got honey that they're making. Let me see if I can get some honey out of there. Isn't that awesome? So they'll fill up that hexagon-shaped cell, and then they will put a lid on it, and hopefully I can show you what the lid looks like. And then through here in the middle, this is the nursery or the brood. This stuff that looks like burnt scrambled eggs. There is a larva or a baby bee down there developing and growing. They take 21 days to develop. If we can see down in this area, there's like a crescent shaped kind of opaque color looking larva. I don't know if you guys can see it in the screen. That's a baby new larva in the beginning of the 21 days. And these bees on the top are the nurse bees. They're just walking around and making sure all the babies have food, that they're the right temperature, and that they're just taken care of. Honeybees love to take care of their nursery. It's one very, very sweet thing about them. They love to take care of the bees. So let's see the other side. Kind of have the same thing going on. We've got honey through around the outside, almost like a rainbow. And then in the middle, we have capped larva is what we call it. The reason the honey is around the outside like that is honey is an awesome insulator. So they're trying to keep the temperature of the nursery the right temperature, so they're not too hot and they're not too cold. So let's take out another frame and see what we see. I'll set these girls down here gently. If I'm gentle with them, they are gentle with me. Okay, awesome, here we go. So this entire frame, the entire frame is capped, ready to go honey. So let me show you. This is the cap that I was talking about. It's just a little tiny bit of beeswax, and underneath it is beautiful honey. So these hexagon cells, I kind of like to liken it to like little tiny Tupperware containers throughout the hive. And in those hexagon containers, they put their most precious items. Number one being their babies. Honeybees love their babies. Number two would be their food, and there's two foods. One is the honey, Honey is their perfect food. And number 3 would be their pollen. Pollen's kind of like their super multivitamin that they get to take, and they feed lots of pollen to their babies so that they can develop well and become good, strong bees. So each one of these boxes holds anywhere from 9 to 10 frames. That's the equipment that I use. Let's see what else we have in here. It'd be super fun if we found the queen, but it takes a little time sometimes to find her. So again, around the outside, kind of like a rainbow, we've got the honey, and then in the center, they haven't, in the center of the rainbow, they haven't put anything in there yet. Yeah, so let's talk about that. When a baby bee is first born, her first task, it's so cute. The first thing she does is she cleans out her hexagon cell. Honeybees are so perfectly clean. They love their house to just be spick and span. So they're always cleaning it if they find something messy, but the first thing they do is clean out their hexagon cell. After that, they become nurse bees and they start taking care of the babies. Like I mentioned earlier, making sure the temperature stays right, making sure that they're fed, they're watered, whatever they might possibly need. And then after nurse bees, they become worker bees and they go and collect the pollen, nectar, water, and bring it back to the hive. The pollen is used, like I said, as like their multivitamin. The nectar makes the honey. And the water is, obviously they get thirsty just like us, but it also has one more really important aspect to it. When it's 115, 110 out in Arizona, their house gets just as hot as ours would if we didn't have our air conditioning on. So what they do is they bring water into the hive as much as they possibly can, and then other bees stand at the entrance, and this is what we call the entrance right here. And the bees that stand at the entrance flap their little wings and they create the smallest little current through the hive. And the current plus the extra water cools the hive off. They're making a little tiny evap system, and that way the hive does not melt out. So those are the worker bees. And then after that, they become the guard bees. And the guard bees are always checking to see who's coming and going from the hive, making sure that they're part of the community, part of the family. If they're not part of the family, they're determining if it's a good, kind, nice bee or if it's a mean, aggressive bee. If you're a mean, aggressive bee, they don't let them in. If you're a kind bee, they will let it in. And the biggest way they figure that out is when they come in, if they have a little bit of pollen or nectar, a little bit of an offering or a gift to give, then they'll be like, okay, you can come in, we'll accept you because you're sweet and kind. Let's really quick talk about the different bees in the hive. Besides the girls, we have the boys, and the boys are called the drones, and I haven't seen a drone yet in these frames that I've picked up. But the drones are a little bit bulkier, they're bigger. And then the third bee is the queen bee. And in a hive, this is a hive, there's always one queen, and she is the bee that lays all of the larvae in the hive. So she's mama to everybody. All right, do we have any questions yet? Okay, so the queen lays all the larvae or the eggs, whichever you want to call them. And if she is a good queen, she will lay anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 a day. That's all she does, one right after the next. She doesn't go and get breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The worker bees bring it to her. She doesn't go and take a shower. The worker bees come and clean her. So she's very taken care of, but she's a very, very hard worker. All day long, all night long, she's always laying larvae, one right after the next. Bees never sleep. It's a really funny little fact about them. Yeah.
We did have a question about bees stinging. Someone asked why they don't survive stinging. So why is it that a bee won't survive when it stings someone?
Okay, it's kind of sad, but the stinger goes in and it is barbed, kind of like a little cactus thorn. And so when the bee flies in, puts its stinger into you, and then she goes to fly away, the stinger stays in you, usually. And it kind of rips the backside of her body. So she has a very, very sad death ahead of her.
And do all of them have that stinger?
Good question. Believe it or not, only the girls have stingers. Boys don't have stingers. So the queens and the workers do. The queen has a slick stinger, though. That's kind of a tongue twister. Hers doesn't have barbs, so she can sting as many times as she needs. Honeybees were just a perfect design. The hive knows that can't survive without the queen because someone's got to lay the larva. So she can sting as many times as she possibly needs.
And someone asked, why aren't the bees stinging you?
Okay, so these are just Italian bees, and their disposition is just so kind and sweet. So it's the Africanized bee that we've really been educated about in the media, and why bees are aggressive. So after I rescued these bees, I bought this hive a new queen. And then I did an exchange. I took the feral or the wild queen out, and I introduced the new queen with the clean, gentle, sweet genetics. Bees live for approximately 4 to 6 weeks. So in about 2 months, I had a brand new set of bees in this box, and they were nice and docile and gentle because they have that genetic. So let's talk about dogs again for a second. So everybody would probably say if they saw maybe a golden retriever or if they saw a Labrador, probably be safe to go and pet that dog, but go and ask the owner first. Or if we saw a mean, angry dog barking at the fence, we probably wouldn't go and pet it. Well, the same thing with bees. There's different genetics, and these are Italian sweet girls. I liken them to Labradors. Does that help?
That definitely helps. Someone also asked a question about how far away bees will fly.
Oh yes, so a lot of the textbooks that I've read say 3 to 5 miles. I personally think they don't quite go that far in Arizona because it's so stinking hot, but I'm gonna guess my bees probably fly a mile or 2 or less because the flight through the summer is so hard on them. The heat is so hard on them. The quantity of my bees drops in the summertime because of the heat, and then they build back up in fall.
Someone also asked, how many bees do you have?
So every hive that's a good solid hive will have 40 to 60,000 bees, and then my hives, I have a little over 100 hives that I maintain. Any other questions for me?
How do you move the bees?
Oh, right now, with all of my muscles and all of my might, I am saving up right now to purchase a forklift, and I will eventually move from having these stacked on the ground to having these stacked on pallets. And there will be 4 hives on a pallet, and then I can just pull the forklift up and pick it and move it. But currently, I'm just lifting. There's one of us on each side, and we grab and we just pick up.
Cool. And how exactly do they make the honey, someone asked?
Yeah, so it's all from the nectar. So that's a fun question. Okay, let's take it from the beginning. The bees leave the hive, and now they're just searching for flowers that have nectar. Not all flowers have nectar. And they're going to find the nectar and slurp it up and put it into their honey gut. And then they're going to go from flower to flower to flower until their honey gut is full. And then they're going to fly back to the hive. And they actually become really heavy with nectar. That gut naturally, as they fly, will secrete, or maybe an easier word than secrete would be to release 4 different enzymes into the nectar. And they bring it back to the hive, and then they empty the gut into the cell. So the honey is nectar and 4 different types of enzymes, and that is it. It'll have a little bit too much moisture in it at that point, so they dehydrate it themselves by making a little current with their wings, just like they do to cool the hive. And that's it. It's that simple, it's that easy, but us men and women, we cannot reproduce it. Only the bees can make honey.
Well, we have a really beautiful picture right there of those hexagons. Someone asked why they like to use the hexagon shape in their hives.
It's super strong. It's just a well-built shape.
And do you happen to know, I don't know if this is a problem with you, but someone asked, what predators do bees have?
So the biggest predator that I deal with is the mite. A mite is a little tiny brown dot, and I'm not, luckily, happily, I'm not seeing any on my bees right now. And they are part of the parasite family, and they latch onto the bee and then they suck the blood out of the bee. It's so hard for me to say because it makes me so sad, and it slowly kills the bee. But the very, very worst part about it is those mites get down into the nursery and kill the next generation. So they're killing the bees on the top, the workers that are living now, but they're also killing the next set that are about to come out. So once a year I need to do mite treatments, and I use an all-natural treatment to kill those mites, and I'm always watching for mites. I hate the mites. There's very few things I hate in life, but mites are one of them.
Well, we have a pretty fun question. Someone asked, is there a king bee?
Ooh, I like that question. That's not the technical name, but sometimes people ask me, are the boys called the kings? They're not. The boys are just the drones. There's one queen and worker. So the answer is no, but I wish the answer was yes.
And how do the queen bees get chosen?
So say somehow, some way we lost the queen in this hive. All of the bees will know. They all communicate with each other and tell each other our queen is gone, and they actually kind of panic a little bit. They will go through the larva that she had just recently laid, and they will find, I find about 5 to 6 perfect larvae in the hive, and they will feed those 5 or 6 perfect larvae differently than the rest of the larvae. They will feed it 100% royal jelly. Royal jelly is loaded with protein, and it gives that larva enough energy for the female organs to fully develop to make fertilized eggs. So we will have 5 to 6 queens developing. Once they emerge, they will go to battle. The 5 of them or 6 of them will find each other and battle it out, and whoever's alive in the end, that's who the new queen will be. The first week of her life, she will go out on a mating flight, and then after that she'll come back to the hive, and she will lay larvae the rest of her life in the hive.
Someone asked, how long do bees live?
The worker bees will live anywhere to 4 to 6 weeks.
And what is the length of time between them being an egg into them being an adult bee?
21 days. So they develop really quickly. Let's see if we get lucky and if we can find the queen down in here. That might be fun. But you guys keep asking me questions. I love your questions. I'm going to move these girls aside so I don't crush anybody.
Oh, this one will be fun. How do they know where to find the nectar?
Their eyesight is amazing. Okay, I'm having a memory blank right here. I think they have 6 eyes. If they don't have 6 eyes, they have 8 eyes. So they have amazing eyesight. And they can just spot the flowers and then go down and slurp up that nectar.
And I know bees have a really fun way of communicating with each other. Can you explain how bees talk to each other?
Yes, so bees don't have ears. Isn't that silly? No ears. They cannot hear anything. So they communicate by smell and by vibration. So their little tushy has a gland in it, and they can make different smells from their backside. And the different smells mean different pieces of communication. And then the other way they communicate is through vibration. So they dance to make the vibration or the feeling, and the way they dance means different things. Isn't that cute?
Those are very cute. Maybe can you tell us a little bit about the different life stages, because there are a few different questions I think that would help with that. Someone asked if they're born with wings.
Yes, they're born with wings, and they're really fuzzy and soft. Here's one that's just been born. See if we can get it in the camera. That one right there was just born. She's super small, she's super soft, and her stinger isn't developed yet, so she couldn't sting me even if she wanted to, but you can tell that she doesn't want to. So the different life stages go from the larva to the nurse bee to the worker bee and then the guard bee. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, I think so. And then someone asked, are there different colors of bees?
Yes, so these are Italian and they're just super peach, kind of golden toned. Then there's other bees that are like, when I see them in nature, they're just kind of dark in color. But yeah, they kind of change in color, but they're all honeybees.
And someone asked, I know you answered this earlier, but maybe we can reiterate why we need a queen in the hive.
Yep, so she is the most important bee in the entire hive. And she's the most important bee because she's the only one that can lay fertilized eggs. And a fertilized egg can turn into a worker bee.
And how do bees suck up their honey? Or, well, I think they mean nectar to go make the honey.
Yeah, they have a tongue, a very special tongue called the proboscis, and just sucks it up like a little straw. I'm really hoping we find the queen. I think it would be exciting.
That would be pretty exciting. So how can we tell which one is the queen?
So the queen is, I say she's about 25 to 30% larger than the rest. And she's just long and elegant. This one's tickling me. You go back in your home.
Someone asked what happens when a bee from another hive sees a bee from this hive.
They usually get along. They usually go about their business and do their thing. If they're an aggressive, mean bee, they could try to rob out this beautiful, awesome hive, but that's what the guard bees are for at the entrance.
If somehow we lost all of the queen bees you were talking about earlier, how would they make a new queen?
They would find perfect larvae in the hive and they would feed it differently than the rest of the larva. They would feed it 100% royal jelly and it would develop into a queen.
Someone asked, do bees live everywhere?
Do they live everywhere? Well, I know they're in Alaska, so I know they're in cold environments. I want to say yes, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
They would just basically need a source of nectar, right?
Yes, they definitely, that's their food to survive. When they don't have nectar and then all the honey is gone from their home, they starve out. It's really sad.
So then I know bees eat honey and we love honey. So is the honey that we eat needed for the bees?
Oh, that's a great question. So beekeepers cannot take too much honey. We always have to leave enough for the hive, and depending on the time of year, we can take more, and other times of year we can take less. So in the spring, they're making honey rapidly because there's lots of flowers growing. In the winter, it goes through a dearth and we don't have flowers like we do in the spring. So that's when they need their reserve. It's kind of like the squirrels. They collect the nuts to get through winter, and then in the spring, they collect more. It just kind of, rotates round and round.
Someone asked, are the guard bees boys or girls?
They're girls. Great question. The boys do not have stingers, and the guard bees need their stingers to protect.
Someone also asked if all of the bees in the hive are girls.
Nope, there's some boys. The boys, we have them in the spring and in the summer. We don't, can I interrupt? I just found something fantastic. Who do you guys think that is? That is Miss Queenie. Isn't she beautiful? She's a little nervous. She's walking around kind of fast, but she's okay.
She's the fast one.
See how she's just a little bigger, 25 to 30% larger, and just long and elegant.
I have a question.
Oh,
Do we have any
if you have
queen
a question,
questions?
go ahead and put it into the chat box, okay? We're going to leave our videos on mute so that we can hear Audra. Okay, so someone asked, how can you tell the difference between the boy and the girl bees? Do they look different?
They do. So the boy is more like fuller, looks more strong, more muscular. And the girls are more slender. And I wish I could find a drone or a boy right now to show you, but I just cannot find one. But I found the queen.
So someone asked, do bees live in trees?
Yes, they could live in a tree. So like an old tree that's maybe the trunk is hollowed out. When bees go to look for a new home, they're always looking for a nice cavity to live in. So they could live in a trunk, or they could hang off of a branch and live very exposed. An exposed life to the elements is not a good choice, but sometimes they do that.
How do bees go to the bathroom?
That's a great question, because they keep their hive perfectly clean. Nobody ever goes potty in the hive. They always leave. I've read they go anywhere from 5+ feet away from the hive, and then they just go potty as they're flying. It drops right out of them.
Do bees have a warning sign when they become agitated? Because obviously the ones you're working with seem very docile right now.
Oh, they totally have warning signs. They're really intelligent, and they really do talk to us if you just learn kind of their language. If these bees didn't stay on the frame, they just wanted to get in the air and fly around crazy, I would definitely know they were irritated, and I'd just step away and put my gloves on. They make like a louder sound with their wings when they're more agitated. They're more jittery when they're agitated. When they run around, they're just kind of extra wiggly.
Mm-hmm. Can you eat the raw honeycomb?
Absolutely. It's just the best honey ever. You can swallow the wax. The wax is the hexagon cell, but it doesn't taste like anything. So most people chew it up, get the honey out, and then just discreetly discard it.
So you talked a little bit earlier about different jobs of the worker bees who are the girl bees. Can you tell us a little bit about those jobs?
Jobs of the worker bees. So the first job is to clean out their cell that they were that they developed in. And then after that, they start taking care of their sisters that are developing at that time. So the brood or the nursery, they make sure they've got enough food and enough water. And then after that, they're workers, so they'll start cleaning the hive. They'll start collecting pollen, nectar, and water, bringing it back. Whatever the hive needs, they know what the need is, and they try to go out and find it and bring it back, because they just all want to support each other and help each other.
And someone asked, do they live in that? They're talking about the bee boxes.
They do. This box that I have opened up, this is their home, and they're kind of like, why did you take us apart and leave us apart for so long? I'm going to put the queen back away safely, okay, guys? You want to take one more good look at her? She's right in there. They're just kind of huddling around her, cleaning her right now.
Someone said they have a carpenter bee or a hive in their yard. Do you know why those bees are different from the bees that you have?
Yeah, it's a different variety. Carpenter bees can be a bit of, I don't want to say the word irritant, but a bit of a bummer to have on your property because they chew up wood. Hopefully they're just chewing up a wood pile that's not important or something, and not like your deck. But carpenter bees are, I don't know if they're on the extinction list, but our quantity that we have of them right now is super duper low. And it wouldn't be good for them to be completely out of our environment. So I always like to educate people, please don't exterminate the carpenter bee. But they're a pollinator also. They do not make honey, but they're really good at chewing up wood.
And how do bees make royal jelly?
Oh, that's a question I don't know the answer to. I know most of the answers. That one I don't know.
Can you tell everyone the difference between a wasp and a bee?
A wasp, the body is much smaller and slender, and the legs are like extra long. So a wasp might be that wide, where the bee is super skinny. There's different colors to wasps, but I see a lot of yellow ones traditionally here in the Phoenix Valley. And they are pollinators also. Sometimes I go to people's homes. Oops, somebody's irritated. I did not get stung, if you're wondering. Yeah, I need to put my gloves on. Now, did you guys see how they were acting and how they're just kind of talking to me? Nobody stung me, but they just kind of bumped me and they said, hey, close us back up. We don't want to be open anymore. Okay, ask me that question again. I got distracted, sorry.
So someone asked, what is the difference between a wasp and a bee? But I feel like you about covered it with the differences of how they look.
Okay. But they are pollinators also. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So sometimes people call me and I get to their house and I'm like, oh, you don't have honeybees, you have wasps. And I'm like, I'll say to them, I can still help you. And I will collect that nest and I will vacuum up the wasps like I do the bees. And then I go out to the desert and I release them. And the reason I do that is because wasps are pollinators also. And I want our world to have as many pollinators as we possibly can. Because I don't know about you guys, but I love apples. I eat 1, 2, 3, sometimes apples a day. I love fruit.
And someone asked, can wasps make honey?
No, just honeybees make honey.
And are their nests smaller than a bee's nest?
Yes, they are. Sometimes they're really little, sometimes they're bigger, but usually when I get to someone's home, they're maybe the size of golf balls or a little bit bigger.
Someone asked, do bees have teeth?
Do bees have teeth? No one's ever asked me that one. I don't think the answer. I think the answer is no, but that's another one where I'm not 100% sure on it. I'm sorry, guys.
People are asking some really good questions today.
Yeah, stump me today. I love it. Make me go research some more.
Someone asked, is there a difference in honey flavor?
Yes, there is. Okay, so the nectar that they're collecting from the flower, they all taste different. So this apiary, this location where these bees are at, is my Mesa apiary. And I have a place in Gilbert where I keep bees. I have a place in Chandler where I keep bees. And if I extract all at the same time and then I taste them all side by side, they all taste very similar, but they all taste a tiny bit different. And it's because there's a little bit different flower source in the area. And the nectar from the flower makes the color and the flavor. Oh, I know what we could talk about next. So earlier I mentioned that the heat of summer is tough on the bees and my population of bees drop considerably. How I combat that and help these girls, because I kind of feel like the definition of a beekeeper, a lot of people ask me, what does a beekeeper do? And my answer to that question is, we're always here looking to see how we can help. So we're just big helpers. So after the heat breaks, I like to feed my bees extra pollen to help help the bees grow back up in quantity, or have their quantity get larger. So I make this, it's called a pollen patty. It has some sugar in it. It has some pollen that I collected from last year, and it has some vitamins added to it. So it's the time of year to put the pollen patty in. I have to put this spacer in so that this Ziploc bag of yumminess can fit, and the bees eat this. When I got here and I first took the lid off, the bees were all around it. This has a ton of protein in it, gives the larva lots of energy to develop. And when they have lots of pollen, the queen herself wants to lay more larvae, and then that'll help boost my numbers.
Someone asked, how many different types of bees are there? I think you already mentioned it, but maybe just reiterate.
So bees in the hive, there's the worker queen and the drone. If they're talking about different varieties, it's a really big number, and I didn't memorize that number.
And do bees sleep?
Nope, they never sleep. They just work, 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 work their entire life. See right here, they found the patty, and they're like, oh, it's back. She brought it back to us.
Now I saw you had a cool tool there. What types of tools do you use while you're caring for the bees?
Yeah, so this is the Hive tool that I can crack things open with, or anything like scoop up the pollen patty. This is my smoker. So earlier I mentioned that bees communicate through smell and vibration. So when bees smell smoke, they're very interested in eating lunch, and it gives them a different activity to do than paying attention to me and flying around me. It keeps them calmer. So we always smoke in the very beginning. I always have my lighter to light my smoker, and then I put a little bit of burlap inside the smoker so I have some fuel. And
how
scissors.
do you collect the honey?
Oh yeah, should we look at the extractor now? Okay, so let me grab one of these frames really quick. Okay, I think this was the one that was loaded with honey. Yep, this one's not bad. Okay, so let's just pretend this frame is right now is very full of honey, but the cap isn't on it yet. So let's just pretend it's capped out and it's ready to be extracted. This side has quite a bit of capping. What I do is I have a little broom in my back pocket, and I just really sweetly and gently, I just brush the bees off. They don't really like this. They hate being rolled. So I just do it really soft. So I kind of clean that frame off. And then we use an extractor. Do you guys know what the word centrifugal force means? When you spin something around and something wants to come out. As a beekeeper, I say the definition of centrifugal force is to pull honey out of the honeycomb, but nothing else. Okay, so if this frame was completely capped out, we have got to break the cappings so we can get the honey out. So one of the tools you could use is like this fork, and you just like open it up. Again, there's nothing on this side to open up. It's already open. And then you stick it into the extractor. And traditionally, you would put 2 in so that the extractor is balanced. This is just a little tiny antique extractor. And then I would crank this, and it's going to spin it, but there's some bees in there, so they're kind of irritated. So it would spin very, very rapidly, and then the centrifugal force will pull that honey out. Gravity is going to have it drop down, and then there's a valve at the bottom, and the honey can come out and go into the bottles. I'll take this out and spin it so you guys can see it turn. See if I can get enough bees out of there.
So where are all of your bees located, and where can people find the honey that you collect?
Yep, so I have the hives in Mesa Chandler, Gilbert. I also have hives in Queen Creek, Santan, Fountain Hills, and Scottsdale. And then my honey is sold on my online store, azqueenbee.com, and then it's also sold at Sprouts grocery store, top shelf middle.
Very cool. Well, I think you've answered most everyone's questions. If anyone has any more questions they would like to ask of Audra, we'll put her contact information up just here shortly so that you can see.
Do they actually make honey?
Yeah, bees make honey. So we'll go ahead and leave that there. I know we've taken up a lot of your time, but thank you, Audra. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming, guys.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to our main screen. You guys are welcome to join us next month. We're going to be learning about pumpkins from a pumpkin farmer. So feel free to join in on next month. And if you have any questions, I'm gonna share my screen here shortly. Remember to stay muted.
Bye, Abby. Bye, Abby. Bye, Abby. Bye, Kendall. Bye, Addie. Bye.
Okay, friends.
Bye. Bye, Abby. Bye, Abby. Bye, Abby. Bye, Abby.
Okay, guys, let's meet ourselves. We'll see you later.
Bye. Bye, Abby. Where's Jenna?